What's up, guys?
What's up, guys? Learn to FPV episode 3.
We're back again.
We are back again.
And we're talking about frames.
Yes, specifically which one should you choose, because each frame kind of has its own little thing going down. You know, which direction do you want to go?
Yeah, and it totally depends on the person. I get this question all the time, which frame should I pick? And the answer varies greatly depending on the person.
Yeah.
My generic answer is it kind of doesn't matter,
Yep.
but that's because the person who's asking might not have a lot of qualifiers of what they're looking for.
Exactly.
Right, so what kind of things might those be?
So I think we can kind of break this down into a couple classes of like what you're looking for.
What are you looking to do as a pilot?
Yeah.
Right, are you specifically wanting to just like bash a drone around? Or are you trying to be a camera operator?
Yeah.
Do you
need to fly in a
do you have
tight
any
space?
Right, do you have tight space? Do you have experience in flying stuff?
Yeah.
You could just go crazy, you know?
Yeah, for
so
sure.
these are the kind of things that start to narrow it down.
Yeah.
And some of those things are more generic and keep the options open. Where like, okay, well, all of these frames are gonna check that box.
Yeah.
But then other times it's like, if you want to carry a GoPro, and that's a whole thing, you're gonna eliminate
some of these.
Right.
Yeah, so I guess the first thing we do is if you're gonna wanna carry a GoPro, which platform is good for you?
Right.
And then we can say the 5-inch platform, which is all of these lined up in front, can all carry a GoPro. This size is popular because it can carry a GoPro so well, right?
Right. I think the power to weight ratio and then the size, you know, for getting in the gaps and stuff, it all just kind of works around this size.
Yep.
To where that became the standard.
Definitely.
But nowadays you have smaller platforms like this with a pretty good camera built in.
Yeah.
And like this is what Sean does now. So you don't see Sean really as much with his big quad and a GoPro. He's sticking down this side.
Yeah. I think the smallest drone you could get a GoPro on and it still fly decent is probably this guy right here.
Right.
So this is the 3-inch platform. It's the Rotor Riot Skylight. This is called the Cinewoop. And the reason that we have this drone is so that you can fly it indoors, close to people,
right.
And you don't hit them, but you can still have the quality of the GoPro on top, right?
Yep. But then the flight characteristics between this and this are going to be totally different.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what you have to understand. It's
Exactly.
like, okay, I want to carry a GoPro, but that's only one of your check boxes of your things you're looking for.
Yeah.
So if you want to go do crazy hardcore power loops with a lot of power, you need the bigger motors and the higher power system.
Exactly.
You really don't want that in this. It's kind of the exact opposite.
Exactly.
You shouldn't look at it and think, well, this one's carrying too much weight, it flies like crap. This one is just meant to kind of track nice, easy shots.
It's a filming tool.
Exactly.
And then if you wanted to go bigger, you know, to a platform like this, you could totally put a GoPro on it, but then it's like, it just gets too overkill. It's like, I don't need a drone that big to carry a GoPro.
You're gonna go to this because all of a sudden now I have a camera that's so heavy that this is struggling to do it.
Exactly.
So like with drones, it kind of seems like the camera is the factor. Like, what are you doing with the camera?
Yeah.
That seems to be the one that's gonna really narrow it down or not.
For sure. I think camera aside, we can kind of break these down into like 3 categories, like micro, like the 3-inch-ish class, and then 5-inch.
Right.
And that 5-inch and up is kind of what I'd put it at, right? So just starting with the micro class, 2.5-inch being the biggest in this category. All of these drones excel in very small places. I mean, we'll talk about these 3 first, because this one's a little bit different.
Yeah, this one's almost a little bit of hybrid, because you might want to compare it to that one, because they're close, but this is really so much lighter than this that it starts to flirt more towards that category.
Yeah, so, I mean, here we have the Dijitel. This spins 35mm props, or 1.6-inch props. This is the Vision 40, spins 40mm props. This is a Flatlands 85. This actually has 45mm or 50mm props?
I forget, because I think 85 means the wheelbase, right?
It does.
Motor base.
A little bit bigger than the 40mm. If you had to pick between these 3 drones to fly, what's the first thing you'd think about?
Yeah, you kind of almost eliminate this one, because this one is a bit of an anomaly, because
it's a filming tool.
It's a filming tool in this thing.
Yeah.
So if I needed to film something, that would be the obvious choice.
Definitely.
And then from here, this would be the obvious choice for me.
I agree.
Because this one's not digital.
Yeah.
So if you want to get absolutely small and light as possible, you're kind of cutting digital video out of the equation. Yeah. And then this one's just a little bit bigger and bulkier.
Yeah, for sure.
So for me, it's like, I wouldn't be getting anything extra out of a bigger drone here.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be getting anything extra out of a smaller drone.
Yeah. I think.
And then frames specifically, though, if we were looking at frames, I think this frame might be a little bit better.
Really? Oh, because of carbon?
Yeah, and a little bit more, I think it looks like it would be a little bit easier to work on, maybe not. I just know that these little plastic frames do break a lot.
Yeah.
That is a downside.
That is true.
The upside is it weighs almost nothing. You pick this frame up and it's like nothing, but you're gonna crack it all. So.
I think this is the best, like this size is the best option if you're flying inside for fun. Like if you just wanna go explore your house, you know, do some freestyle in your house, this is definitely the best platform. I love this. I mean, I designed this drone. A little biased, right? But I love this drone. I love flying it indoors, but it's definitely not the same as this. This one's great because you can bash it off walls.
Yeah.
You know, when you're thinking of a micro indoor drone, typically you see prop guards. This one doesn't have it, so.
Right. And they're press-on props, so you're more likely to have them probably go flying.
I never had them fly off.
Really?
Actually, they bend like real.
Okay.
They just bend.
Okay. Oh, you just damage it, right?
Yeah. So. Yeah, these are kind of the three options, and the reason we're putting this one aside is because it's not like it's not a drone you use for freestyle.
It's not trick. You don't do tricks with this. Right?
No.
It's like this is more of like a tool to do a job, and this is more of a toy to play with.
Exactly.
You could kind of switch them back and forth though. It's not like hard and fast rules, but just like that's kind of the point of if you want to actually pick a specific frame. It's because it's fitting a specific niche. Yeah. And if you don't need it to, then you can do whatever you want with. But if you want to do a certain thing, this is going to do it better, and this is going to do it.
For sure. I'm going to call this one a hybrid. We're going to put this one in the micro category as well as like the 3-inch-ish class. I don't even know what the name for the class of like between this and a 5-inch is.
It's been 3-inch, I think.
That's
just been the most common, so.
That's what we'll call it. We're calling it 3-ish inch
There was a while 4-inch frames were a little bit popular. Yeah. But it just doesn't do, it's kind of how I was saying when I had this choice. It's like, well, if I go this way or that way, I don't really get an advantage. Yeah. And it was kind of like that with a 4-inch.
Definitely.
Like the gap between, or I guess these would be the better two examples. The gap between here and here, it didn't really do much. Yeah. So generally, you're at 5-inch, 3-inch micro. Yeah. I think how most people look at it.
That's how we're classifying it. So so these three are out. We're gonna put those to the side.
Yeah, let's bring these guys out.
I'm gonna put.
Keep the hybrid.
Yeah. So we're gonna start with the hybrid. It's a 2.5-inch platform. It's a Cine Mini. We just released it. It's available at rotorriot.com. I designed it as a tool for filming, like we kind of mentioned earlier, right? It's a small platform that has a crazy power to weight ratio. As well as it's just small and nimble and can kind of do things that this thing can, but it has its disadvantages. So we're like, this thing is not durable.
Do you have any idea like how much lighter this is than that?
This is 236 grams off weight. This is about 550, 600.
Right. So like it might not translate on camera, but because they look a similar size, but you do lose a significant amount of weight going to this, especially if you have a camera like this. Yeah. Where right now we have this set up to put a whole full GoPro on it. Exactly. So at the end of the day, this is going to be way lighter. So even though you would be probably okay with bumping into somebody with this, but if you're cooking at a decent rate and it weighs like 800 grams, like it is going to make a difference.
Also, on the upside of this thing, this drone is very durable. Jaybird Films is a great example of someone who like will intentionally crash this drone into like sports players for a cool shot. Don't crash this. You break so quickly. You break on a bad landing. So, you know,
that lightweight comes with a cost.
Exactly. And it just goes to show you what frame do you want to get, or the whole video.
Exactly. Are you the type of person who really needs the performance and you're a professional and you know you're not bumping anything because you'd be fired? Okay, well this is the clear choice. Yeah. So now I think it's all kind of hard to like really explain because these two are definitely filming tools. This 3.5-inch. You can rip this a little bit.
Can you?
I think so. And the other thing about this is you can take the ducts off. And now you're like really similar.
That's true.
Like if I flew this just like this with no GoPro on it, it can freestyle. It's not a 5-inch, but it can do power loops. The ducts do make a little bit of like they change the flight characteristics a little bit. It's kind of hard to, but you could take the ducts off and this thing will rip just.
So I stand corrected. Another version of a hybrid. All the hybrid frames. I think the 3.5-inch tank ass right here, this is definitely the most drone that's just for fun.
Yeah, as designed.
As designed.
Like, there is no duct. We don't have ducts for the tank ass. So.
Yeah, I mean, this drone is super durable. The power to weight ratio is similar of a 5-inch drone, but since it's smaller, you're not going to be carrying a GoPro.
Right. Well, that was the whole design behind it that Sean did. Is like, let me make this with smaller where I don't need the GoPro because the new video systems are so good.
Yeah.
He just uses that footage.
Just uses onboard DVR. So, yeah, that's kind of the 3-inch-ish class, because not all exactly 3-inch. But,
so yeah, two main purposes for the 3-inch. You either kind of want the power to weight of a 5-inch and you don't care about carrying a GoPro, so you might as well save a little weight, or you want it like a little Cinewhoop.
Yeah, exactly.
Those are like really the two reasons. Or like you could fly this, but just wherever you have access to, you have a little less space.
Yeah.
That would be maybe another reason.
For sure.
What other sizes we got?
5-inch drones, these are all different platforms. And like we kind of said in the beginning, if you're just wanting to go bash and cruise around, all of them will do the job.
Right.
They're all going to carry a GoPro.
None of these are going to let you down and be like, oh, that frame just doesn't work.
Yeah, they all work. They all carry a GoPro. They all get similar flight times.
Yeah.
Once you get to the 5-inch platform, there's so many frames out there, and you're gonna be overwhelmed. I was.
Yeah.
But there's a little bit of there's some few design things about certain frames that we can kind of categorize them by. So the first thing that a lot of frames have is you want a camera cage.
Yeah.
Like, what's the benefits of having a camera cage?
A lot more rigidity and strength in the front end. So originally, you would only just have the standoffs, and you have some kind of print or something, and it doesn't give any strength for it to not shear this way. So whether you do it with carbon or the way this is like a cage and it's all locked in, it's really not going to move.
Yeah.
Even your frame, it has a little bit of both going on.
Yeah.
It has camera plates, but it also has standoffs.
Yeah, mine's a hybrid for sure.
Or the next level up is you just get a whole metal cage.
Yeah, this one's metal. This thing is not breaking.
Would be the tank and the rot frames.
The punch and the shorty.
Yep.
They are like protected with 3D prints.
They're pretty sweet.
Yeah.
They're pretty sweet. And then even between these two, you just have small differences that are like, it depends on how picky you are, because you might think that's the same frame, but the only really difference is this is squished in a little bit, and this one's more designed for the toilet tank.
So I'll show you guys what a toilet tank battery looks like. So our batteries normally are vertical like this. Toilet tank, you mount them like sideways, essentially. Yeah. I don't know why it's called toilet tank. It doesn't look like a toilet tank.
It looks, yeah, it does.
It doesn't.
The top of your...
What?
You would be sitting here.
Okay. Oh, okay, so I will sit. I'm going to sit here. Yeah. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. That's funny. So
I visualize it now.
Those are the little things that when you're first looking at a frame, it's like, this might be a nitty-gritty thing that might not matter to you or might matter to you.
Yeah.
I don't know. What would you suggest? Because I don't know if I would suggest toilet tank for beginners.
Personally, I'm not a fan of toilet tank. I think it flies better. It does have the center of gravity thing that makes it fly better. But I just chop up so much.
Yeah, you're going to be more prone to chopping these things or just having it get knocked around.
Yeah.
So this is one of the things to consider. How is the battery mounting going on? It's
exactly.
Almost always the same.
Yeah.
It's usually going this way with straps around the top plate. But you have little slight differences in some frames. Like in this one, it has some notches where your strap's going to go. So that way that it doesn't slide around.
Yeah, like this one doesn't.
Yours doesn't have that.
Yeah.
And then other frames will even have like more like this, but on
slots.
the edge, so it really holds it. Which I always kind of like that because I don't like when your straps like fall out. It holds it.
It's funny, I hated that because I'd always break it.
But there is a downside because if you don't file it down and you're kind of too rough with it, those edges start to eat at your strap and the strap. So yeah.
Yep. I think I think we can kind of break this for the 5-inch category of like, what do you want to do? Do you want to do a freestyle or cinematic? They kind of blend into both.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and focus on freestyle. So when I'm picking a freestyle frame, the biggest things that I'm looking at for are your FPV camera protection, your motor protection, and ease of repair.
Yeah, right.
So a frame like honestly the tank takes all the boxes for me.
Right.
Right. Great camera protection.
Usually when people ask me about what 5-inch, I start with these two because these are kind of our most different, even though they both will do the same thing. And what I tell them is, if you want something that's just never going to break and you're going to fly it as much as possible, go with the tank.
Yeah.
The only reason why you would go with something like the Skyliner is because it's a lot lighter.
Yeah.
So it's probably going to fly better, and it's also still fairly durable.
I think the Skyliner is very durable.
It's like pretty durable. You're going to break arms a little more often.
Yeah.
But it's going to fly better every single time.
Because it's lighter.
Yes.
Yeah. I think it's kind of funny. There's this graph. Like the more durable the drone is, the heavier it is.
Right.
Right. So.
And for some people, it's a preference. Like when I say fly better, that might not mean, because even you used to always fly heavier setups, and your videos always look great. It didn't look like the drone was weak. But some people, you get used to a certain amount of power. I give it punch and whoa. And if you switch to a heavier frame and it's a little less. I give it punch,
it's like,
So these are preferences. And some things you might not know until you do it, I guess.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how to tell a new customer, are you going to like a heavier setup or a lighter setup?
I mean, I think we can kind of explain that. So a heavier setup, like it's going to feel more sluggish. The reason that I love heavier setups is because your throttle control is just so easy to be smooth. No bobbles.
That's actually something, because we're so freestyle focused, we've skipped completely over the racing frames. We don't even sell any racing frames. But
I forgot racing existed.
There are racing frames that are just ultra light, because that's what that made me think of. Is what makes them hard to fly is when you're just kind of cruising, little punches on the throttle are going to really jump your altitude a lot. So yeah, a heavier frame, it just makes it more numb on the throttle, where it's not popping you, which is also good for your video, right? Because you don't want your video popping. The other thing is the momentum you get.
Yeah, you can huck it over a tree or a big old tree.
Yeah. Just you'd be surprised, a very lightweight quad. Like sometimes even these guys, it just does not feel the same when you go to do a split S over something. Yeah, it feels like it just stops. And where the heavier quad, whoa, it just wants to keep going. So it's something to take into account.
Yeah, and then the characteristics of lighter drones, they're going to be a little bit harder to control on throttle. You're going to get way longer battery life on a heavier drone.
Right.
And just overall, it will fly better. It'll be easier to get a tune.
Yeah. If you go in one direction and whip it back the other way, you should get less shuddering, because you just are not moving as much mass.
Yeah. Earlier, I broke it down to camera protection, motor protection, and ease of build. And if you're aligned with how I think, the things that you look for, like what makes a frame have durable motor protection. A frame like this, like the Skyliner, has a huge piece of carbon sticking out that protects the motor from hits right here. You're only going to hit it from this angle, right? Same with mine.
I think it's pretty standard on anything that we carry. I don't think we would carry a frame that doesn't have it. So
you'd be surprised.
Something to look for.
Yeah.
It's definitely, you want to make sure the motor is not the most extreme thing sticking out.
Then, so just for my frame, I angled mine forward because I only fly forward. I don't do sideways stuff. If you look at like James's frame, the PWX's frame, his are angled out like this because he's doing all the trippy sideways, backward stuff.
Yep.
So again, it just really just depends on what you're doing. And then as far as ease of repair goes, how many screws you have to remove to get to your flight control ESC.
It would be good if you're shopping around on frames to see if you can see like exploded diagrams or watch other people put them together.
Yeah.
Because they're all going to look the same when you're just glancing at them like this. Yeah. But I know these two frames have more pieces, a little more fiddly than this frame or that.
This is the easiest. It's only 4.
Super easy.
Yeah.
We always designed a lot of our frames to be as minimal amount of different screws as possible and as minimal pieces.
Definitely. So yeah, that's the 5-inch category, and then we're gonna go ahead and step up to the bigger category because if
sometimes the 5-inch just isn't enough.
So for the 7-inch category, I feel like you're gonna be using this if you're gonna be doing long range, or if you need, well, long range kind of ties in with the next one, is if you need longer flight time.
Why does it get more flight time?
It's more efficient.
When you increase the prop, you can spin it slower. You don't need the same RPM.
Yes, so the fact that you have bigger prop allows you to spin the motor slower, which draws less amps from the battery. Right. Longer flight time. So if you put a 1500 milliamp hour 4S on this and a 1500 milliamp hour on a 5-inch drone, you're gonna get like almost double the flight time with a 7-inch drone just because it pulls less. This platform's kind of in a weird category because it still is just like good for carrying a GoPro.
You could potentially get some kind of good setup with this camera, but this camera is kind of rare in this space anyways, being so small.
Cinema cameras aren't usually this small. Usually they're a box like this big.
So not ideal as a cinema rig. You could, I see something with this setup that could be kind of nice.
You could put
but then again, if you're at that level, why are you not just doubling down again? And because the same thing kind of applies here, right? We're going even bigger prop, even more flight time because now we have a bigger payload. Which is eating into that flight time. Yeah,
so this is a 10-inch drone. This is a new Rotor Riot 10-inch frame. We don't sell it yet, but we will soon. So
it's coming.
It's coming. And this drone is built around cinema and also long range. It's kind of funny. This is also long range. You will get longer battery with the 10-inch drone than the 7-inch drone. This is kind of just like, it's hard to carry around. right? So if you're doing long,
this is not so convenient.
No,
and it's not so casual to tumble across the grass like you would with all these other ones. Like this is kind of a, you don't crash this drone.
Even this 7-inch will take a crash.
Yes.
This drone will not.
Yeah.
It's literally just because of the fact it's so big. These motors are so big, there's no really good way to give them motor protection.
Yeah.
They're gonna get hit.
There's just too much mass where something's gonna give.
I mean, there's a couple configurations that I would fly this. So this is the first configuration for cinema, where this is a cinema camera on top, whether that be a Red Komodo or a Blackmagic Micro G2, and then your LiPo battery on the bottom.
Yep.
What I think would be really cool with the setup is to have it be a long-range setup, put a GoPro in the front, battery on top, battery on bottom, go really far.
That'd be cool.
I think this is kind of the ultimate long-range setup.
Yeah. That's the cool thing. Once you get bigger, you can start playing around a little bit and putting modularity and trying different things.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, if you wanted to, you can put a gimbal on top of this thing and have a dual-op camera
setup. You could have a huge gimbal hanging underneath it and with crazy legs, or there's a lot you could do.
Exactly. And then, I guess going back to the 7-inch, I never really owned, this has been always been a weird class for me, because I never like owned one because I needed it.
Yeah, but 7-inch is kind of cool. So if what you want to do is just kind of cruise around and like make a track at your local park that you're just going to do laps.
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun doing that because I was testing to see like flight time out back, so I just kind of made a little course.
Yeah.
And 7-inch will cruise in a straight line like really nicely. Like it just tracks because it's got a little more weight. It doesn't require so much like throttle to go. There's just something about it, and it'll cruise for like 8-10 minutes easy. So if you just want to cruise around, a 7-inch could be like a really good choice.
I'll agree with you on that one. When I have flown 7-inch, I do just have fun just
if you
flying
just
forever.
Just cruise.
Yeah.
It's not going to handle as good for hardcore freestyle. If you're trying to do Rubik's Cubes and stuff, you're going to struggle to tune it.
Yeah.
But if you just want to fly around like and get more flight time, which a lot of people do.
Yeah.
I don't know if we told you in this episode, and if you guys don't know, but these guys, we're looking at 3 to 4 minutes flight time.
Oh yeah, very short flight time.
Because the whole thing is that high performance and just being able to rip 80 miles an hour, but that comes at a cost.
Yeah.
So maybe not everybody wants to do that and be, full throttle all the time.
Yeah.
So that's another consideration of what frame are you gonna get? How do you want to fly?
Yeah. I think once you get to these categories, there's not much of like, oh, this thing's gonna make it a little bit more durable. I think it's little things like, is the frame a dead cat? Like, so for this frame, this is the Rotor Riot HD1 XR, it's a dead cat. What that means is that these arms are pushed back so that when you have a GoPro or a camera up front, there's no props in view. Right. This one is not a dead cat, but it's a very squished X. So the motors are very much closer front to back than they are side to side. And that's,
from what my understanding is, preferred for freestyle. You want the squish, and where this is not.
Yeah,
you're gonna get weird characteristics in your yaw and stuff. So again, it's more of a cruising thing, but you're gonna get that like nice view of not seeing a lot of props in your view. Where there's trade-offs. If you want the ultimate performance on a 7-inch, you're probably gonna see a lot of props.
Yeah.
What else is there?
If you want to just be weird, let's pull out some weird drones.
What if you want to just do a bicopter?
Or what if you want to do a tricopter?
Or what if you want to do a 5-inch with ducks?
Or what if you want to do a 2.5-inch with a gimbal on it?
Or what if you wanted to do the Cine Mini with the hanging gimbal? There's a lot of stuff you can do, guys.
There's a lot of stuff you can do. Yeah, we don't want to limit you guys by, just saying what the categories are. Micro, 3-inch, 5-inch. Right. Be crazy, be weird, be spontaneous. This is just old. This is not cool. This is just old.
It's for tinkerers. You need to be a tinkerer because there is something cool about the tricopter, the fact that it uses a servo. Yeah. I built one before. It's pretty cool, and it has a unique flight characteristics, but you need to be a tinkerer that would be satisfied just by doing that, because once you crash it, you strip the servo and it's over. It's not. That would suck. And good luck figuring out how to make something like that fly. But
this thing was, this thing was so much fun. Have you flown this drone?
I haven't.
Bone drone. This, dude, it was like, you could hit any gap, because think about it. You can hit a gap the size of this.
Right.
And if you want to be weird, again, this is another weird filming tool.
Yeah. Yeah, you had that camera on there, right?
Oh, yeah. I did have the cinema camera on the side.
So it's possible, but that was a very inefficient setup.
This battery had like 2.5 minutes of flight time, and it was very heavy.
You can experiment, right? That's what it's all about.
Yeah. So let us know in the comments below which frame option, you're kind of going down. Do you want to know micro drone, 3-inch, 5-inch, 7-inch, 10-inch?
Let us know if there's anything we missed. There's a lot to go over with frames. I'm sure somebody had a question that didn't get answered. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we are sorry.
Leave in the comments. We'll respond.
Yep. This has been Learn to FPV episode 3. We'll see you guys on episode 4 or next week, whatever comes first. Bye.